Hi, I'm Nicole Crane, and I'm running a couple minutes late. Sorry, everybody, but let me know if the sound is good. Give me a thumbs up if you hop on. So today I am going to be talking about how power dynamics play out in lap dances and BDSM. So really quick, just to, while I have people's attention, I'm going to talk about Exquisite really quick. I am closing this round in almost 2 weeks. We're starting on August 1st, and it's at a reduced price. The price is going to go up after this round. So if this is something that you're interested in, please sign up a discovery call with me. I'd love to chat with you if you're a good fit to work with me. And people, let me know if you can't hear me or anything. Otherwise, I am going to be keeping comments private. So if I read it out loud, I'm not going to say who said what, because I would like this to be a discussion if you have any input. So I love talking about communication and relationship dynamics and negotiation and consensual power exchange. And so this is right up my alley. So I'm really excited that I got some excited feedback about this. And so first of all, I'll get into how relationship dynamics play out in a lap dance. So I think that there's a lot of concern, especially from swerfs that are these anti-sex worker feminists who are so concerned for the well-being of these trafficked women or whatever. So I am sex positive, I am consent positive, I am sex worker positive. So just so you know where I'm coming from, I believe that consenting adult sex workers should be allowed to work in a decriminalized, safe environment. So I think that that gives a lot of power to those women. So in my experience as a dancer, we have all the power. It seems like these white rich men come in and they want to spend money on the dancers, and a lot of people are worried that they're predators or coercing the women into doing things that they don't want to do. But honestly, that's why I personally feel safer in a structured environment. Yes, there's a cost and a limitation of what I'm allowed to do, what I'm allowed to wear, when I have to show up, things like that. The flip side is that there is this semblance of safety where within those rules, I get to make my own personal rules, and I'm protected within those rules because the guys know that we have a bouncer and that they're going to get kicked out if they fuck around, right? So it's really interesting that in this situation, despite the fact that the woman is almost naked, she's wearing these crazy high heels, and a lot of times these women are very young, it's actually, the power is typically in favor of the women. So it's really fascinating studying under Alison Armstrong and learning more about the inner workings of men, where if a man gets overstimulated by a woman, or he's just too infatuated by her, or to use Gillian Pothier's words, drunk on the feminine. I thought that was amazing and perfect. A perfect way to phrase that. So if men feel that way, just overwhelmed by this sexual desire, that's when they objectify women. And so honestly, I've learned how to play with that and how to control that. So I still feel even if a man is overwhelmed to the point of objectifying me, I still have all the power. I hold all the cards. I know exactly what's going on. I control the situation. So it's really interesting that a lot of people see sex workers as victims. And I know that there's a little bit of different power dynamics, depending on where you are. I feel cam girls, dominatrixes, strippers, the more socially acceptable sex workers kind of have a lot of securities and not entitlements, but we're empowered in a way where it's safer for us to be visible, and also it's safer for us to define and defend and maintain our boundaries. Whereas some of like the full service sex workers, it's a lot more gray area, because you're not only dealing with the laws and the police and like John's, so to speak, clients, whatever, who kind of take advantage of those loopholes and use them to kind of get weird with boundaries. Whereas like when things are a little bit more defined, I believe it works out in our favor. But honestly, I would love to hear some feedback from some full service workers if you have an opinion on this. Obviously, I don't expect you to come on live or comment here, but I would love to hear your opinion on how you feel empowered and disempowered in that situation, because in my experience, it just depends on the worker. So I feel like I'm like digressing from the point, but so in my opinion, it's kind of similar to BDSM, where the submissive allegedly is like under control of the top, right? So like socially, it's expected that like the client or the customer in a strip club has all the power because he's paying me to do whatever. But in all honesty, like I make the rules. I can stop the dance at any time. Like I take the money first. So I feel like I hold the money, the power, the pussy. So it's like, I feel like in that situation, it's like topping from the bottom. Like, of course, like the man feels like powerful and like he's in control, but very infrequently customers end the lap dance. Like, I would say if a lap dance ends early, 90% of the time it's because the dancer ends the dance because she's either uncomfortable or, you know, something that risks fluid exchange happens or something like that. Whereas like every once in a while, a guy will like, you know, take his trapper keeper over his lap and like slink out of the club. But usually guys just kind of sit back and enjoy it, and they just let us do our thing and allow us to flex our prowess and our control and our power and our beauty and our seduction. And they just enjoy it. And as far as BDSM goes, I touched on this a little bit, but I feel like a lot of people project this, I don't know, like I honestly, I have to admit that I have had no like interaction with 50 Shades of Grey, so I don't really know how that plays out, but the way that I've heard it spoken about in my kink circles, it sounds like it's pretty coercive and yucky and like borderline rapey, like, I don't know. So I'd love to be corrected if somebody knows a little bit more about that like storyline or character development situation. But I feel like a lot of people are afraid to explore BDSM and kink because they're like, oh, I'm going to be tied up and then someone's going to do something that I don't want to be done. So this is where communication and negotiation is key. I recently met kind of told me that they were like one of those like pain slut bottoms that will like act out to be corrected. So instead of like earning a reward, they'll try to like force it by like being bad. And I was super clear. I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like to be embarrassed publicly. If it's in a private situation, like maybe I'll let that fly. But really, like if I have to take corrective action, you're not going to enjoy it. So don't fuck around with that in my world. And so that was kind of the extent of our negotiation before we started to play. But I mean, I did ask them if they were allowed to have marks, and they said no. So I assumed that they're like probably married. Just based on their age, I kind of like did things that kind of supported their body. Like when I asked them to kneel, I like put a pillow down on the floor and things like that. So some of that is like common courtesy and like common sense, but like especially when you're starting out and you don't have a lot of experience, a lot of that doesn't come automatically. It comes through, you know, fucking up and hurting your play partner and having them be like, okay, I have to use the safe word, not because you're like hurting me or like damaging me psychologically, but because my body can't maintain this thing that you're asking me to do. So It's kind of similar with BDSM, where people think that the submissive is like not in control and they're being abused or they're being used against their will or something like that. But in my opinion, I feel like the submissive typically holds most of the power. Um, so kind of like Johns or like customers or clients wouldn't like end a lap dance early, typically tops don't end a scene early. Like it's very, very rare. I mean, it's not like impossible or improbable, but it's very rare that a top will end a scene or tap out or use the safe word, you know? I mean, unless there's like a safety issue or something like that. Whereas, you know, most of the time, the bottom is the person who taps out or uses a safe word or decides that they're finished with the scene before like everything that the top has planned has been executed, right? So, of course, okay, so this is how it relates to relationship dynamics. So I feel like a lot of people feel victimized by love and relationships. So they feel like they can't express themselves. They feel like they can't ask for what they need in the bedroom. They feel like if they were to express their desires or their fantasies, that their partner would either reject or judge or shut them down somehow. So I feel like most people kind of fit into that category where they're like, oh, it's not safe or it's not acceptable to ask for what I want. So I'm just kind of going to quietly suffer and start to build resentment against my partner because I'm not comfortable asking for what I need. So I kind of just wanted to tie that in because I feel like we can all take control. Like it doesn't matter what it looks like from the outside, whether, you know, like people think that men have more financial security than women, so it's harder for women to leave a relationship, or that, you know, like women control the pussy and so we have all the sexual power. Honestly, there are a lot of loopholes and a lot of ways to work around this. I mean, communication is kind of the basis of most of them, in my opinion. So I would love to have a conversation about that soon. Like, that's kind of my like nerd kink, I guess, so to speak. Like, I love negotiating scenes. Like, a lot of the time, I enjoy the negotiation just as much as I enjoy the scene, just because it's almost like it's almost like talking dirty or like phone sex or sexting to me. It's like I enjoy the sapiosexual intellectual connection almost just as much as the actual play. So that's just me. So I think that if you can learn to make that communication sexy and really like use it as a way of connecting with your partner and bonding with them, and like not only making them understand that they're heard and that their thoughts and their feelings are understood, but that you still want to connect with them, even if you don't necessarily like want to do the thing, or you know, whatever you're talking about makes you uncomfortable. It's totally okay to say like, oh my God, I'm like so overwhelmed when we talk about finances. Like I feel really shut down right now. Can we kind of table this and like hold each other right now? I would love to connect with you still, but I don't feel available emotionally to like work on this right now, but I realize that it's super important to you and like we're going to take care of it. I just feel like I can't discuss it in like a calm, like logical fashion right now. Like that's totally cool. Same thing if you apply this to like, let's just say ass play. Sorry if that's offending anybody, but I feel like that's one of those things that's like just as emotionally triggering as finances to people. So if someone's like, hey, I want you to stick this thing in my butt, and you're just like, whoa, that's like way out of my comfort zone. Like, I don't know how I feel about this. I feel really like emotional about it, obviously. Like maybe I need some more facts, but I'm not ready to like talk about that right now. So let's table it. Like, I love you. I'm not leaving you. We're still cool. My nervous system feels a little like maxed out right now and I'm very activated. So I don't want to hurt you by having an overly emotional response right now. So like, let's just cuddle. And I would love to talk about that soon because I respect that that's super important to you. So just to give you an idea of like what some of that communication could look like. I would love to hear any questions that you guys have. And in the meantime, I'm going to spend about like 1 minute wrapping up and talking about Exquisite. I'm going to drop the link for the landing page in the comments, and you can check that out. And there's an application. I guess the application wasn't hooked up, but it is now. So as long as I get your application by the end of the month, I'm honoring the current price. And if you're not sure if this is something that you're interested in or not, like, it is geared towards women with high libidos who want to use sex as energy to fuel the rest of their life, and also to like sharpen up some skills and like work on stuff that's going on, you know. That is so not descriptive, but obviously I am very open-minded when it comes to sex and kink and sex work, and super sex positive. So really it unearths the stuff that's holding you back from getting what you want, in a nutshell. So if you have any questions on what that is about, or if it's a good fit for you, just check out the application, or just privately message me. And I would love some feedback on if this was helpful, if there were parts that you disagreed with, if there were parts that you wish I would have elaborated on that I didn't get around to. I would love your feedback. Please either message me here on Facebook, or you can email me at NicoleCraneCoach@gmail.com. And have a fabulous weekend, everybody. Mwah. Thank you so much for everyone who tuned in live, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye.